So welcome, Naima. Thank you so much for being here. We look forward to what you have to say.
Thank you. And I appreciate being able to share this information. So I love this topic because we definitely know that autism is on the rise. And what we're trying to do at the Marcus Autism Center specifically is we're trying to get children identified sooner so that early intervention services can happen sooner, because that leads to the best outcomes for them. And sometimes with children being so young, it's hard to identify in an infant or a toddler what some red flags are. So I hope that I can shed some light and some information, and hopefully will help you understand better and be able to identify red flags in young children easier as well. Of course, I'm trying to, let's see. There we go. Sorry, we do webinars here at Marcus, so moving forward. Things that we focus on with infants and toddlers is their ability to use social communication skills. When we talk about toddlers, sometimes we, when we're thinking about communication, we're thinking about their verbal abilities, but we really want people to understand the specifics about social communication. And this little one, just so you know, is about 9 months old and is going to give you an example of what we're looking for when we're thinking about social communication. On the right, to look for gestures, gaze to face, sounds, coordination, and frequency, so that we all can get an idea of, at 9 months, how many skills this infant has in social communication. Just to preface you, this video, the sound is really, really low, so you may not hear a lot, but what I want you to do is look at the infant and look how she's using her environment and the people in her environment to figure out what's going on in this scenario. We are assuming balloons, and as you can see, the clinician on the right is blowing up a balloon, so let's watch her reaction, then I'll speak on it a little bit afterwards. So in that short clip, basically what was happening is they were introducing something relatively new to the baby, which was a balloon, and she wasn't quite sure what she should do with it. So what she was doing was she was looking at the clinician, and then she looked at her mom. When she noticed her mom touch it, she was like, okay, I can touch this. So she touched it. Then when all the air escaped, she had a look on her face like, whoa, what was that? And looked directly at the clinician as to communicate, wow. So she was using her environment to, first of all, even though this was a new object, to realize, okay, this is safe. This is a safe place to explore. She shifted her eye gaze, and when she saw the clinician and mom smiling, it was like, okay, this object, I'm not familiar with it, but they're smiling at me, so it must be okay to touch it. Mommy touched the balloon. I see mommy touch the balloon, so I immediately imitate her action. Okay, if mommy touched it, then it must be okay for me to touch it. So even though she's 9 months, she was using her environment to really understand. Scary. She felt comfort in looking at the people in her environment and looking at their facial expressions and being like, okay, they're smiling, they're happy, so this must be okay for me to explore. So this is actually an opportunity. We're getting a little bit warmed up to kind of chat in some responses, and Diane will share with me what you guys say. But in the chat box, what word or phrase comes to mind when you think of autism? And I want kind of the first little thing that pops into your head when you hear someone say the word autism or that a child has autism. What are some of the first things that you kind of think of? And we'll take like a second or two to kind of have you respond to that.
Social delays, I see.
Okay.
boys, unique,
Okay.
unique way of learning, genetics, with a
Mm.
question mark,
Okay. Okay. We can
no
add a little bit of
communication,
that.
not emotional, not emotionally there, not language, spectrum, limited eye contact, humming, not talking, poor eye contact, lots of different responses.
Wonderful. Thank you. So, which I'm so surprised because I've done this webinar or this PowerPoint a few times, and a lot of people still have the image of Rain Man when they think of autism. Now, there are absolutely some individuals who will display some of those characteristics, but it's a spectrum. So it's going to affect individuals differently depending on where they are on the spectrum. But most people have those very classic kind of severe ideas of autism, the hand flapping, tantrums, unemotional, we kind of heard of, standoffish, in their own world, nonverbal, rocking. So this is definitely one part of the spectrum. And this is why sometimes we miss some of the red flags in infants and toddlers because they might be a little bit subtle or they're not as pronounced. Instead of putting their hands in front of their eyes. So it may be misinterpreted as, oh, you know, he's not flapping, but yes, but he's still posturing. So sometimes the red flags are a lot more subtle, and we have to think of more of a spectrum, and we're always kind of thinking of the severest part of the spectrum, but there's a lot of different ways that red flags can show up, and some of them can be very subtle. So here's another question. So the question is, all children with communication deficits or delays are at risk for autism spectrum disorder. Is that a true statement or is that a false statement? Again, all children who have social communication deficits or delays are at risk for autism spectrum disorder. True or false? And Diane will let me know.
5, 6, 7, 8 falses, 9, false, 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 10, 11, 12. Just about everybody who's answered has said false so far.
Okay. Well, let me shed some light. That answer is actually true. Now, it does not mean that autism spectrum disorder, ASD, will completely develop, but if you have a social communication deficit or delay, that definitely is a red flag. So what do we mean by social communication deficit or delay? For instance, and we'll see some examples of what it doesn't look like. But again, the little one that we saw who was 9 months, she was shifting eye gaze, facial expressions. She watched her mom touch something and then she imitated. Children who do not have those skills, if I'm not shifting my eye gaze, if I'm not looking at people in my environment, if I need help, or if something is scary, I'm not looking to someone or I'm not reaching out to someone familiar, those are deficits in social communication. Therefore, those could possibly be red flags. Now, again, we don't take characteristics in isolation. That definitely alerts us to look further to see if there's other areas where there are other deficits as well.
Naima, somebody just asked a clarifying question.
Sure.
Is lack of eye contact a red flag for autism spectrum disorder?
It can be. Again, you have to look at the whole picture, and I'm actually going to show you guys some examples from this definition, what that looks like. It's not just eye gaze in isolation. It can be many other, like, lack of. I think it's going to get answered as we go along because I do show examples of what these red flags look like. So let me start talking about the definition of ASD, and if that question is still come up after a few more slides, let me know. So looking at the DSM-5 autism spectrum disorder, the actual definition, the definition is delays and deviance in the development of social communication skills, again, that's bolded, with the presence of restricted or repetitive behaviors present in the early development period. So we have social communication the behaviors. You do have to have some evidence of that. And even that, sometimes people don't realize some behaviors are repetitive. If you have a very quiet toddler who's building with blocks, they build up maybe 3 or 4 blocks and knock it down, you can interpret that as, oh, this child is building. But again, if I do that for 20 minutes straight, I'm not looking at you, I'm not gesturing for you to come over, I'm not making noise, I'm not trying to bring you into my world, is deep. But we definitely would have to look at that, because again, at that age, I should be sharing my experiences with you. If I'm just very quiet and I'm just building quietly, but I'm not trying to engage you in my play, again, that's that social communication skill aspect. Now, again, not completely in isolation. We would have to see other times of day, whether other behaviors that are happening. But again, when they're toddlers, they should be trying to bring you into their what they're doing. But that definitely could either be a restricted interest or a repetitive, because I'm doing the same thing over and over again, uninterrupted, and I'm not moving on to something else. But we'll take a little bit more look at that in just a second here. So just some basic statistics that you may need to be aware of. The statistic right now in Georgia is 159 children in Georgia have autism, and it's estimated over 155,000 individuals are living with ASD in our state. Some of the increase in prevalence, because of course people feel like, autism is just all of a sudden everybody has it. So they're broadening the criteria. And, now you're hearing a lot more educational information. A lot more people are getting some of the ASD red flags information. So more people are a little bit more familiar with what's going on. So more children are getting diagnosed. Again, growing awareness, and then the educational implications. Some families diagnosis, I can support my child even better with more services. So all of these things put together makes it feel like, oh my gosh, the prevalence is increasing, but it's in conjunction with all of these things is helping people better identify. Screenings for ASD, again, at Americans of Pediatrics, they recommend screenings at 18 to 24 months. Some medical professionals don't always follow through with these as well. So we actually at the Marcus Autism Center have created an 8-hour primary because we are trying to get more medical professionals to pay closer attention, because we are trying to get children identified sooner. And if you speak to a lot of parents, even if their children were diagnosed at 4, 5, 6, or 7, a lot of times if they think back, they definitely can think of developmental problems by the child's first birthday. So this is why we are pushing so hard to get children identified sooner. Intervention has its greatest impact if it mentioned earlier. You definitely will see changes. And I have a case study at the end that we can view to kind of support that. But even that being said, about 80% of the children who need early intervention services do not get it before age 3. So again, we really want to try to get children identified sooner so that intervention services can start sooner, because again, we're trying to get them intervention services before they start kindergarten, before they enter school. That's kind of the goal, because even if they go into school with an IEP, they have a plan, we kind of know what's going, have a better idea of how to support and work with the child. So someone brought up genetics in the question about autism. So there definitely is a genetic link, and parents who have a child with autism, it's usually a 1 in 5 chance of the second child having some form of autism as well. So developmental trajectories and why we are so trying to support and keep children in the social world and go on. All babies start out the same, and then you start to see the kind of the path change, and the infants or toddlers starting to develop expertise about the physical world. They're interested in vacuums and fans and electronic things, and they're not as interested in social or people. The reason why that's hard and where some of these deficits come into play is because you learn a lot from observing others. The video with our little 9-month-old. At 9 months, she learned how to kind of assess her environment, look at the people in her environment to understand and realize that, oh, this is okay for me to do. Mom is smiling, clinician smiling, so I can actually touch this balloon. Mom touched it, so I can touch it. If you're not paying attention to faces, if you're not paying attention to your social world, you miss a lot of that information. That's where the deficits come in, because you can't truly know who's going to help you or who can support you when you are frustrated or having a hard time, because autism is associated with a lot of behaviors. But when you do not know that you can literally turn and reach out to the person next to you to comfort you, and you have to hold that fear or that frustration in, that's sometimes where the behaviors come, because I don't know I can turn to the right and get comforted by my caregiver or even the clinician some comfort if I need it. You're keeping it in, you're fearful to yourself, and you're not reaching out to others. That's when some of these behaviors and some of these things happen, because again, I'm not able to communicate what I need. So we're looking at the whole picture of ASD. Something that I myself did not pay a lot of attention to before I came to the Marcus Autism Center is how much emotional regulation plays a part, and I'll be talking about that shortly. But we're also going to look at impairments, of course, in language and communication, and those are two separate things. And then we'll spend some time looking at restrictive interests and then repetitive movements with body or object. So emotional regulation, if we want a child who has red flags or has been diagnosed with autism to get the most out of the activity or the most out of whatever we're doing, we need to focus and think about a well-regulated child. So what does a well-regulated child have? They have the ability to be focused, they're ready to learn, and they're alert. I can take in the information that you want to share with me. We are generally used to the child in kind of the red box with dysregulation, when you're agitated, overexcited, and frustrated. We kind of identify that, and we know that we do have to work on some strategies to get that child back to that well-regulated, focused state. But the child in the blue box, we sometimes forget about or don't pay as much attention to. And this is a child who's hard to engage, sleepy, or is playing with their shoelaces, but they're not paying attention to you. They're not singing the song. They're not doing the hand movements. They're not overly excited, but they are still dysregulated because, again, it's hard to engage them and they're not paying attention to what we're doing. So when we're thinking about children who present red flags or who have a diagnosis of autism, if we're trying to include them in the educational setting or we want them to listen, we need to figure out, and we want the child who is well-regulated, focused, ready to learn, and alert. So this is an example of a little guy. He is about 2.5. He's in this scene with his sister, who is a great example and model for him because she's very, very social. But what you're going to see is he kind of goes in and out of different regulated states. So I want you to observe the clip. When he's dysregulated and when he comes back to being regulated, and then I'll talk about the support that mom used to get him back regulated and paying attention to her.
Ready, set, go! I know him say go. She wants to play? Yeah. Okay, you can play too, baby. 1, 2.
Good job changing it.
3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Ready, set, go! Yay!
Okay. Sorry, these clips, I see them all the time, but this will make me laugh. So basically, in the beginning of that activity, he was not socially connected to mom. He was doing his own thing with the balls. He was not paying attention. The strategy that she started counting. Once she started counting, if you notice, he started to look up at mom. His eye contact definitely increased to the point where she had him so connected to her. By the time she got to 10 or the ball container filled up, he actually gave a little point because he was able to predict that, okay, now that it's full, mom is going to put this over my head. But for him to do that, he had to be socially connected and be a part of the activity. So mom used socially connected to her. And once she did that, he definitely was with mom in the activity. And again, was able to do a little point at the end because he knew, because he was paying attention to what she was doing, that she was about to put the balls over his head. So now we're going to look at social impairments and social interaction. So what we're going to be looking at is the lack of limited response to name by 12 months. 6 months should be starting to respond to their name. So that's definitely something we pay attention to and could possibly be a red flag. Again, lack of limited appropriate eye gaze. And when we say eye gaze, we're thinking about frequency and quality. Some children with ASD or red flags, they may look at you, but are there huge spaces in between? Am I really looking at you because we're sharing something? Is it fleeting or is it true eye gaze? Limited sharing of interest and enjoyment, or limited warm, joyful expressions. These are two that were new to me before I came to Marcus Autism Center. I'll be honest, I never really thought about that sharement of enjoyment, or like, oh, did you see this? Oh my gosh, that was so cool. Or the warm, joyful expressions. That's something that you want to see when you're doing something. And then difficulty to elicit a social smile. If you have parents who are tickling or throwing children up at, up, it takes the child a long time to smile, that definitely could possibly be a red flag. But again, we look at these things in the whole child, and we look at many different areas, not certain characteristics in isolation. We kind of have to have a bigger picture with concerns in many areas before we kind of say red flags. But here, please chat in. Again, this is what red flags for social interaction do you see? As you're watching it, if you would just chat in kind of what you're seeing, and then at the end, we'll kind of go over what the list is.
1, 2, 3. 9, 10. 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2. Uh-oh.
All right, so we'll take a few minutes just to chat in. What were some of the red flags for social interaction that you observed?
The ones that I see, Naima, no engagement with caregiver, lack of eye gaze, watching the balls versus the person, lack of eye gaze, back to caregiver, limited shared enjoyment, kind of in his own world.
Great, wonderful. observations, and that's exactly it. Just so you know, we clipped this with this caregiver and child. This was the beginning of the video you saw first, and the provider who was working with mom kind of gave her some tips and some other ideas, because again, she used the same strategy as accounting to try to get him engaged. So they kind of got her closer, added the little bowl with the balls to put over his head, so there'd be a little bit more going on in the activity. But mom was definitely trying to use the same strategies. Her pausing is also a strategy, but again, he had to be socially connected first before he kind of would be able to join in, count with her, because again, he was dysregulated. So mom had to figure out ways to get him back emotionally regulated. Once he was back emotionally regulated, he was able to participate. Great observations, guys. Great. So impairments in communication and language, again, gestures are huge. Gestures develop before words. So again, lack of showing gestures or conventional gestures by 12 months, and we'll get into that a little bit more. Lack of pretend play by 18 months, and we're not talking the elaborate play, but I have a toy Lego in my hand. Will I put it up to my ear to pretend it's a phone? That type of thing. The lack of coordination of nonverbal communication. So what that means is, if I want some juice out of the refrigerator, will I point to the refrigerator, look at you, and maybe I will try to vocalize, even though I can't say juice, maybe I'll say ah, or something like that, to try to send you a message. And then the other thing is unusual prosody, which again, and we'll see. Again, I have an example to show you. So this is unusual vocal quality. He is requesting something from mom, and mom is struggling to kind of understand what he wants. So she kind of throws out some things. When she gets to the right thing, he does respond by going to the table. Just so that you know, because it's kind of hard to understand him.
More raisins? Can you go sit down? Cheerios?
Yes. Yeah. And he immediately is like, yep, that's what I wanted. You got it. I'm going to go sit down.
He runs the acknowledge. Go sit down. I'll get your Cheerios.
Yeah.
Okay. Go sit down.
So that was an example of some of the unusual voice quality that you might come across. Now, differentiation in gestures. So what we want to see are conventional gestures developing, kind of the waving, the pointing, the shaking of the head. What we sometimes like pulling, leading, or using your hand as a tool. So let me show you what that looks like.
What's the dog say? Ruff, ruff. That's right. And the scarecrow. Are you all done?
So for that one, what you probably observed is, you know, mom was asking her kind of what she wanted to hear next, and she literally just picked up mama's finger and put it down. So again, for some parents, they feel like this is communication, because again, you are letting me know what you want, which again, I could totally understand that when you're trying to guess, and at least the child is leading or trying to indicate what they want. But again, it's that social aspect. I'm not looking at you. I'm not at least confirming with eye gaze that, yes, I want you to talk about the scarecrow now. So again, that's the unconventional gesture, or using your hand as a tool. Here's another example as well.
Like that.
Yeah.
Say outside.
And see here, this little guy, again, he loved outside. So again, he put mom's hand on the door. And because, again, he has a hard time communicating because she didn't just immediately open the door, you know, he got upset. So again, that's that using hand as a tool. That's another one. Okay, here we go. So again, I'm going to show you a video clip. So what red flags do you see for social interaction and communication? If you would just chat in from this little clip what you're seeing.
There you go.
Ready, set.
Uh-oh.
Boom.
You want help? Lewis, do you need help?
Yeah.
I got it. Would you like help?
And I would.
All right, so if you would take a few minutes to chat in what you saw, then I'm actually going to also ask you to chat in what you think some of this little one's strengths were. So if you were working with this family and you just saw this interaction, first of all, what did you see? And we'll talk about that. But then I also want you to think about what are some strengths that this little one possesses that you could share with the family, and kind of areas that you would like to work with or discuss with them further. So it's kind of a twofold question. So we'll start with, what do you see as far as the interactions? Yes, Diane?
Some of the red flags that people are listing, Naima.
Okay.
Not looking at caregiver to see why he was taking the truck away, just reaching for the truck. Does not want adult to touch toy, focused on toy, not caregiver. No engagement with caregiver. No showing, sharing with caregivers, lack of engagement and eye contact.
Right.
No engaging with the other. Banging the toy instead of using words. Lack of gaze and response to caregivers. Not playing appropriately with the toy. Not engaged with the caregiver, wants to play alone. Not playing appropriately with the toy, just looking at it. Using caregivers as tools. Child shows limited interest in interacting with caregivers.
Great.
Strengths. He does bring the stuff to the caregiver.
Yep.
He's engaged in the activity itself. He does seek help. He's standing still to use the toy versus running around the room. Parents responding similarly, giving him plenty of space. Those are the strengths so far that people have identified.
Wonderful. No, that's great. Great observations. And you're right. The biggest thing again is that social interaction. Socially, he's absolutely not connected to the mom and dad. And and again, his emotional regulation, because at one point, I don't know if you know this, dad tried to assign him help, but because he was already dysregulated and he was not socially connected to dad, he wasn't able to see or respond to the sign that dad was trying to help him communicate. He was trying to teach him a sign that would help him kind of say the word, but because he was dysregulated, he didn't see it, didn't pay attention to it, didn't respond to it. And if you saw dad, he actually checked out for just a second, which is completely understandable. Go ahead, Diane.
There's a question that came up just before you started this video too, that may clarify things. Where is the line drawn between shared enjoyment and a lack of interest in the activity in general?
Great question. Thank you for asking that. So again, that's where he should be shifting his eye gaze a little bit, maybe even showing the car. It. Sometimes we don't pay attention to typically developing children and how much they show and point and want to draw you into what they're doing. We kind of take it for granted. It's almost like when you see a child who's lacking those skills, it reminds you like, oh, wow, yes, they do try to get our attention. So, and at least the shifting, if you notice, he's not looking at either one at all. He's not trying to engage them, show them the car at all. It is all just about him. And again, he can't make it. I think he's trying to put it together. It falls apart and he can't put it back together. So he literally, which again, he went and gave it to his mom and just dropped it on her lap and figured like, you know what to do with this. So again, he has some skills, but we got to develop them a little bit more because again, he's not directing his communication. I don't know if I answered the question. I think I did.
A follow-up question,
Okay.
Naima. How can you get him to shift eye gaze with this particular situation?
Okay, so basically what a child with red flags needs is this with the car, they have to come up with some kind of routine that becomes predictable so he kind of knows how to play. Once that's established and they know how to play, he knows how to appropriately participate. But then they can expect, again, if he wants the car to move, then I have to hold on to the car until he looks at me, until he points, until he makes a vocalization so that you slowly reinforce. These are ways for you to get the car. I do a whole parent mediated intervention where I actually teach caregivers how to get children more, increase their social communication skills. And the biggest thing is predictability, which I'm sure a lot of people have heard that children with ASD need, because a lot of times they'll play inappropriate with them. You've seen the children possibly, when it comes to cars, instead of kind of driving them on the ground and doing the vroom vroom, they just spin the wheels. Well, once I show you that this is how we play with that and it becomes a routine, then to participate, you kind of learn how to do that. Then we can put in some social aspects. The biggest thing is that he has to be socially connected first, and he has to be participating and doing something first. Then we can. I hope that makes sense to you. I will leave my email address at the end of this as well, so that if you have specific questions after this webinar, please don't hesitate to email me. I love answering questions. I love making sure that people understand what I'm talking about. So if you come up with some questions later, or maybe at the end of this that you want to ask me specifically, we can go into it. But that's the basis, is that routine and giving the child a job, giving them a responsibility in the play, and then you guys are going to participate with me. This is your role, so I understand everyone's role and I know how to play and how to participate in the activity. We're getting on to the presence of unusual behaviors, repetitive and restricted interests. So here's some examples. Now this one is a very restricted interest. I can't play the whole video because it's hard to watch in some ways, because this caregiver is really trying to get her child's attention, and he is.
What are you doing, ma'am? Remy, what are you doing? Remy. Remington, what are you doing? Remington. Hey. What are you doing, little buddy boy?
So that one is hard. His interest is so restricted. His attention. He's not paying attention to her. She is going to extreme lengths to try to get him to shift his eye gaze, and he's not. So that definitely is a red flag. And again, we'd have to see other things, but that definitely is. Here's another parent with a child with restricted interest. And this child's restrictive interest is just flipping the book kind of over and over again. So sometimes, again, parents may not see that as a repetitive behavior, but it is. So this is what this caregiver does to kind of switch that.
Hide and seek.
Like I'd say,
Oh, brother's hiding. Where is he? Hey.
can you know mine?
Hey.
Best.
Mama tick.
Now, she was able to get his attention, but again, she had to call him several times, and he's in close proximity. She had to get down off the steps. She actually had to touch him to kind of bring him out of him flipping the book back and forth. And here is an example, again, of hand and finger posturing and what that looks like. Because, again, most people kind of look at the flapping. But here's another example of what that could possibly look like.
I'm like, I don't want to do once, but I'm gonna push it too far to have you get upset in this hole. No, some more raisin. More. You showing off your tummy? I'm really tummies recently. Tummies and noses are our newest body parts. Are the best. They do things. It's a cross elimination sometimes with him, but it's also like he'll say kind of like Cheerios or what I can understand is Cheerios or raisins is a pretty clear word or milks. We also try to work on gently getting him to sit in that chair.
So again, that was kind of, he would do it kind of quickly. He kind of looked to the side. He kind of put his fingers near his eyes, but he was doing that with a certain frequency. So that's kind of what the hand posturing looks like. And here's another one. Again, we'll call it visual peering. And again, if you're looking at them, sometimes parents in on the wheels.
Thanks. Here they go. You see those wheels? Look at them. Look at those wheels. Go forward and backwards. They beep beep. They beep beep beep. Turn it all around, that's right.
So again, he was really just focused on the wheels, not really making the car drive. So our colleagues, we work a lot with Florida State University. And so they did a study on the kind of characteristics that you see in the ASD. And these are the specific characteristics that they saw with children with ASD. Again, we kind of talked about the lack of appropriate eye gaze. And the biggest thing is that warm, joyful expression with gaze and that sharing of enjoyment or interest. Lack of responding to the name. They are not coordinating their gestures, again, with the gaze, eye gaze, facial expressions, or a gesture or a sound. Again, showing that unusual voice quality or prosody definitely the red flags for children with ASD. Now, I'm looking at the time because I know we're probably going to have questions. So this is, and please, as you see things, please chat in. This is actually a case study of what ASD looks like as it unfolds. We're following this child from age 9 months to 24 months. So I want you to really pay attention to the 9-month and the 12-month and the 18-month to see what the child maybe is doing or what the child is. Please just chat it in. And again, you kind of have the help boxes on the side to kind of direct your observation, but I really want to hear what people see, and then I'll go over it at the end.
Give her the bubbles. Or give mommy the bubbles. Give them to mama. Give them to me. You're a tease. And put it in your mouth. Yeah, you can eat it. Okay, there you go. Otherwise, I'll show you some goldfish if you don't like it. Good job.
All right. So I'd love to hear what some of you guys observed as that was kind of ASD kind of unfolding.
They have all sorts of things. I'm trying to get back to the
Okay.
beginning of
Okay.
this thread. No sharing or checking in with the caregiver to see if it's safe or what to do.
Right.
No babbling, not engage with people around them, just engage with the object. No eye contact, focusing only on the bubbles. No eye gaze, shared enjoyment or expression of enjoyment. Silent, not laughing or showing and sharing. Someone mentioned signing. No
Mhm.
eye contact, somewhat attempting to interact with the caregiver, prefers to bang, emerging language, counting, finger posturing, counting the blocks but not showing pride in his work, seeking approval and affirmation, good counting and praising himself. Child is more verbal in this video than in the previous ones. He
Mhm.
narrates his play, not trying to get help, just trying to muscle through it. Zero eye contact, lack of eye contact and interaction before 18 months, asking for more with prompts from caregiver, no shared excitement, proof of success with early intervention was the last comment.
There we go. That's a thank you. Yes. He definitely about 18 that something's going on. Maybe someone's working with him. He's gaining a little bit more skills. But if you notice, he didn't get the give gesture until 24 months. Again, at 9 months, if I'm having a hard time opening something, a typical 9-month-old will at least turn to the caregiver, and if the caregiver puts out their hand, they will drop the object in. Because again, when people say that behavior is associated with autism, you 18 months, you're not knowing to turn and do the give gesture, it is going to go across the room because now I'm frustrated because I can't get it open and I'm not realizing I turn to the left, turn to the right, and do this one little gesture. It's going to help me. It's going to help me get what I want. So a lot of times, again, people put the behaviors with autism, and there absolutely are behaviors, but what you have to understand is I'm lacking. I don't have the gesture development. I don't have that eye contact. I don't have the gaze. Oh, do you want me to help you open that? And then I can go over and open. If I'm just hitting something on the table, again, sometimes caregivers don't pick up, or they may misinterpret that as playing, but you really want to get something. That's when those behaviors start to develop, so that by the time the child is 24 months or 3 years of age, because again, I haven't learned these things. I haven't learned to do the eye gaze and shift and to kind of signal to people. That's what behaviors happen. Now, again, we're talking about children. So some children who do have these skills still may have meltdowns and things like that. But from a perspective of a child with autism, that's why some of these things sometimes will develop, because I haven't learned some of those basic skills to help me get through with some simple things for assistance. I can't do it myself, so I'm upset because I can't open it up. I'm not turning to my caregiver and doing the give gesture so that I can get a. Anything else with the case study? I don't know if anyone else chatted anything else in.
That's all that I shared what people had.
Okay, perfect.
Awesome.
Okay. This is something that I'm so sorry, Diane, I forgot to send to you. I could actually send to you, but this is actually from the Autism Navigator tool. It's a 90-hour kind of training course on autism, and it kind of lists out some red flags, specifically in infants and toddlers. I believe you can actually go to firstwords.com, which comes out of Florida State, and they have a lot of information on ASD in toddlers and what that looks like. And I believe this information sheet's there, but I can send it to you. I'm so sorry. I completely forgot.
Well, and we will be sharing the recording of this, and I can post this with that.
Okay, perfect. So I just want to say thank you for participating today. If you have any questions, I tried to talk so that there would be a little bit of time, just in case people had questions or wanted to share something, that we would have an opportunity to do that.